video?
Oh, I don't know. That part I didn't. I think I just had it on putting it in the lens.
Yeah, because I can cut, she's gonna help me cut it all off.
Okay.
So yeah, it's basically just how you have felt working together as our whole collaborative team through this project.
Okay.
And then, so yeah. Okay. All right, well thank you for meeting with me today. And I wanted to reflect on how you feel about our collaborative team and how our planning and implementation went overall.
Okay.
So we'll look at the good, we'll look at the bad. So we'll start with the good.
Okay.
And when working as a collaborative team, what was one instructional practice that you identified that went well?
One thing that I thought went really well was the fact that we had lots of different perspectives that were able to come together. So we have our our ESL component. So we have our ELT teacher come, and so she's giving that firsthand experience because she's working with those EL students or ED students. She's the one doing the TELPAS, but then we also have the general ed classroom represented with Miss Jackson, and that was able to give her experience, like how all of these things are tying together. And then in my role as the instructional coach, how I can help support all ends of the spectrum, make sure it's all coming together and connected.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel so put together like little puzzle pieces that don't fit, like
right.
making it all one message, because the whole point is that all of what we're doing for our EL students is the same for everyone. I mean, it's good for everyone.
It's good for everyone.
And so the strategy and the message can be for everyone.
Yep, I agree. I think that's great. And then we'll look at some things that maybe needed some work. So the bad. As a collaborative team, what instructional practice do you think could be identified as needing improvement? And really, it's just something that we could even work on next year when we cycle through this. Like, what changes could we make to make it better?
One thing that I've heard from direct from teachers as a rep, because we planned all of this and it sounds really good, but then when the teachers went to implement it, there was a little bit of disconnect for some. And I think when we plan our next PD and just thinking about next year, having maybe some more like make and take opportunities where whatever strategy we're showing them and demonstrating and showing them the great benefits of, we actually allow them time to create those sentence stem cards or those picture models or scripting out things they need for their actual lesson plans the next week.
Right.
Something that will make it easier for them to turn around and go right back into. So on our end, planning that and making a space for that.
Because we did a few of those things, but we just didn't have enough for them to really take it back.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds like a good strategy for next year too. And then we talked about that. What about how? So that's another way that we could grow as a team as well, right? Is just looking at how we can do those make and takes and how we can take that teacher feedback.
Right, and then and I think when I'm thinking of that part, that might be more of the lower grade aspect of it. But then I'm thinking too the upper grades, really looking at the data and looking at what are the strategies that we're putting in place making a difference in the data. So are we seeing that transfer into their assessments, into their assignments, into their success in that area, not just the activity, but is the activity working? Is that really coming across in their assessment?
In their work. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I know this year we're focusing a lot on second grade just because they've never taken those standardized tests and kind of giving them a little bit for expected. They need something to expect and what it's going to look like. Right. Rather than our third graders who we just kind of...
Right. It's that little bit of the bridging the gap between the young and the new, being a big kid. They have a lot more independence and accountability in third grade, and so starting that transition is really important for us.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And then what challenges did you face in fostering collaboration, and how did we overcome them?
As our team?
As our team and like yourself, it could be in something that you've done before.
Well, one thing was all of us finding time together.
Yes.
Because your schedule, I mean, you're with children all day.
Yes.
And then I'm with, teachers and planning and meetings at the ISC. And then so coming together as a team, and that's the case with any collaborative team that you have is finding the time to do it and making that a priority in a sacred amount of time, so that you're not
Yes.
cutting it short and not, you're giving it all of its justice that you need. So just being flexible with that piece and understanding people's schedules and just working around it the best you can.
Because to really dig into it, sometimes it was time to go. And then it was like, oh, well, we've already spent 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes sounds like a long time.
Right.
But when you're really digging into it,
Well, and when you're making such a big plan, because this is a plan for everyone.
Yes.
And so and then how does that plan impact for the next time that we meet? So like the domino effect. So really you're not just planning one meeting, it kind of is like you're planning all of them. They
Right.
all rely on each other.
And then we can cycle through those, because the whole idea is to make this a cycle and really implement it more next year.
Yes.
When we've kind of practiced
Yes.
it, I guess.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and teachers have had a chance to practice it and kind of dab their feet in it, so that
Yes.
they can do
Mhm.
better next year, and
Mhm.
we can put more in place for them. So I like that. And how do you think you have grown as a coach or a teacher while working as part of the team?
Well, I love getting to work with a lot of different types of people. So I don't usually work that closely with Michelle, and that so her EL world and my world don't always go in hand with each other. And so getting to work with her was a little bit more eye-opening, because I could see, okay, what I'm doing with the teachers as a coach is the same things that they need to work with their EL students. It's
Right.
not like a big division. It's not so separate.
It's not so separate,
And
even though it is separate.
Yes.
And you don't see her in what she's doing.
Mhm.
It still comes.
Yeah, so that was really great as a growth. I think as a campus, data-wise, we're not a campus that traditionally and historically has put a lot of eggs in our data basket, so to speak. Like, we have to focus on the whole child and all aspects, but data is fairly new for us. And so really training the teachers to look at data has been a growing strength for me, because I need to know how to present that message and then share with them why that's important and why we need to study it, and why, so we know if our students are growing with these strategies that we're doing.
Right.
So that's been something to work on.
And I think that's where that collaboration piece also comes in, as working with teachers
Mhm.
too, not just us as a planning team,
Right.
but how the teachers are working
Mhm.
and putting those things in place and
Right.
learning from that, and working, oh, well, I tried this and I did this,
Right.
and this is what my class, this is the data
Mhm.
that shows how they did. So I like that. And can you highlight some specific contributions made by individual team
Mhm.
members that demonstrated growth?
Well, I think the organization you brought to the table was super helpful.
Okay.
So you brought a really great planning template for us,
Right.
and that made our planning process really easy. It was easier to fill in the template versus an open blank
Like, what are we
slate.
gonna do?
Yes. And so I think having the template really guided us, so that was really awesome. So
Thank
save that for next year.
Yes, I will. And yeah, we can go back and look at some of that research too, to
Mhm.
find out what we missed, or what are things that we really should focus on. I
Right,
think.
yeah, you can almost like look at the template and realize, okay, that column, that section, that piece, that component of it was hard for us. Let's go back and look at what the research said and focus more on that specific area.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds good. And then, what challenges have you faced while working with a collaborative team? Maybe a disagreement or something you really had to work towards to find a compromise or a balance.
Just in general, or
It could be in general,
in
just
the past.
in the past, previous.
I think
present.
our team worked really well together, so I don't think that we had any challenges to overcome in the past, like just being a part of other collaborative teams. When you have people on your team that feel very strongly about something, and you feel very strongly the opposite way, or maybe those two things are just hard, they're hard to blend together. I think being understanding, there's a reason that person feels so strongly and they really feel like it's the right thing. It's not that they're just trying to argue with you.
Right.
So finding value in the people that you're working with, and taking, assume goodwill is one of our big mottos here. So assuming that they have the best intentions just like you have the best intentions, and to find a way to work so both can have a piece of what they need.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I like that. And then, what effect does this have on students and student learning when we're working with these collaborative groups?
Well, one thing is that when you are part of a collaborative group, and I've been through that struggle personally, I know that if adults do it, then kids are going to do it.
Yes.
And so you can speak firsthand with the students about how to work. In one of our PDs this year, we called it civilness.
Yes.
And just how to work civilly with other people and how to be respectful and kind and work together as a group while respecting other people's opinions.
And how to just kindly disagree.
Yes.
How to respectfully
Yes.
disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are learned. We have
Right.
to teach students how to do that. Just like as adults, we have to learn how to do that.
That was a part of our student discourse PD at the beginning, where we had like there's the activity and then there's the civilness. Like you have to teach both of them. You have to teach them how to work the ins and outs of just the activity, and then you have to teach them how to act while they're doing it.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. And then, can you provide an example of a time when self-reflection was evident among team members?
Well, there's always that reflection piece, of course. When something doesn't go well, it's much easier to reflect because you're like, oh, something went wrong. Where did I mess up? Or that's like your first go-to when it doesn't go as planned, right? So those are always the easier ones. I think when everything goes really well, that's when you have to be more intentional about your reflection, because the kids are going to say, oh, you really should have stepped up your vocabulary during our lesson today,
And I
right?
didn't really understand this piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think putting on that critical hat of, okay, it went well today, but could I have made it better? Was it too easy? Is there, excuse me, a place that I could have added more vocabulary here, or asked them a more open-ended question here so that they could have had more, say into their thinking? So.
I like that. I can totally see that. And in what ways do you believe the collaborative team has already influenced the social culture of our school?
Oh, well, I definitely think, we said at the beginning of this that we have a plan for next year already making it better, but I do think they had an impact this year. I think doing our discourse videos and doing that reflective piece at PLC has already made a difference, because the teachers have been able to talk with each other and see into each other's classrooms,
Yes.
whereas normally that wouldn't happen. So us being prepared to plan more of that.
Yes, and I talked about, we've talked before about having, I think we called it once a pineapple teacher, or just teachers being able to go in and observe other teachers in that collaborative way, because you learn so many tricks and tips from them, and just being like, oh, I really like how they did that. And we take away the things we like, or, oh, I didn't really like how they did this, but that's okay.
For my kids, that would be different.
Yes, and what your dynamics look like, and each year it would look very different. So being able to have that time and have someone come in and kind of watch your class while you're watching another class.
Our team probably should really plan that, like our team.
And put that into place so that they have those opportunities. Yeah. And then can you provide examples of specific changes or improvements that have resulted in the collaborative team's efforts?
Yes, so through our team's planning, we provided some very specific student discourse strategies, and one of them was about higher level questioning.
Right.
And so I think that us providing that PD really helped teachers understand we're not just asking yes and no questions. We really want them to think critically about what they're discussing in class, and ways to hold them accountable to that. So not letting just a great opportunity go like, oh, good job. Keep the conversation going and get that discourse going so that we can up the standard a little bit.
Yes, and those are one of the things that we did do the make and take, because teachers had that piece to write down their questions and do that higher level. So I see where our intentions were there to do those.
We just need more.
We just need more. Yeah. So that was good. I really like that part, and I know teachers used it.
Yes.
And they used it during the planning process, and they used it during the lesson planning, and then for the discourse too. So that's great.
Yeah.
And then how do you envision the collaborative team continuing to impact the school culture in the future?
I think we're off to a really great start, but like us planning now, already knowing, okay, this went well, how can we improve it next year? And of course, next year that's going to grow.
Right.
And then we'll see more opportunities. Okay, we did that well, we added this piece to it. Now how, it's just going to keep growing. I feel like the teacher toolbox, so to speak, is going to grow, and all of these strategies in discourse and higher level thinking and vocabulary will grow their students, and so therefore our data will grow. So
Right.
it's like a ripple effect. Like we're just dropping in the
Dropping
first
in
little
the seeds
the first little drop, and the ripple is every year it continues to grow.
to grow and get
Mhm.
better. I like it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for participating and your contributions to the collaborative
Thanks
team.
for
I really
having me.
enjoyed working with you. All right. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
That was good. It was 15 minutes, so I can
Nice. You
shop
can
it.
kinda, yep.
Because, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh.
That was good.
That was
I
good. You did great. I just threw in,
BS out of the BS.
BS some things that I knew I wrote, and I was like, oh no, we already did that.
Yeah, Well, then I totally skipped over data. I was like, oh,
No,
I
that's
think
fine.
that was the
I
data
just watched
question.
that part. They seemed okay, and it was just 2 people. There was one group I watched last night, and it was late because I went to Victoria Scouts, and then I was like watching these stupid videos. And one group whole had masks because it happened during COVID, and I was like, who's talking?
Yeah.
And
You need a paddle.
they were all over the place.
That's funny.
So I watched them because I thought that they were easy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, it was very just a conversation.
he doesn't say if he passed or not, but.
I'm sure he did. Who would post it if they didn't?
Right? Well, some idiot might.
well, that's true.
Ah, thank you so
Okay.
much. I'm so glad to get that
No
done.
problem.
Let me know if you need anything.
Let me know if we passed.
Question. I just want to make sure I'm right. If they get a 94, I have to redo it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because my app shows instructional. 95, they're fine.
95 in it, yep.
Okay.
94 is instructional. So then you stop.
Right? 94 is instructional.
So
and
the
stuff.
one before that, unless you want to do another one.
No,
Like
this is the
unless-
easy one.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing them all on. I'm doing them all on eyes, and then if they're not getting it, they're typically. I mean, he's 94.
Yeah.
So he's an H, which is where we were, but I'm
Yeah.
just trying to.
Do you have the H?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have an H, but gosh, I spelled it. I can't type. I'm like, have you read this one? Have you read this one? Have you read this one? And then what I do? Yeah, I don't even know what to do with it. Oh gosh, I didn't change the video.
Oh.
Ah.
delete.